Good morning and welcome to my live podcast. I'm here to fight CPS and my name is Bob Pace. I'm a loving father of six children, three older ones, three younger ones, been married for 31 years, and I've been a family man, but I too have succumbed to the child protection system, what I call CPS. It's a branch of social services that's supposed to protect your children from neglect and abuse, and also to help out family of need of food, shelter, clothing, education, medical, and a job. It's also an agency that, if it's necessary to take your child from your home, from you as a family, it's very important that they do a family reunification, meaning that after the problems are corrected, they should make all efforts. It should be the number one priority is to reunite that family because the best parents, studies have shown, are the biological parents. The biological parents of children are very, very important, and studies have shown that they are the best parents. Now, it may be a road you just started out this morning. Some of you may be new to my podcasts. Some of you have been regulars and come to my podcasts all the time. Each time you do come, I welcome you. And there are four ways to interact with this podcast. One of the first ways you can interact with this podcast is just by being in the room. You found me on Facebook, Fight CPS with Bob Pace, and I transmit on YouTube using the StreamYard application. Now, while you're listening, take good notes and express your thoughts by showing emojis, such as smiley faces, hearts, or thumbs up. Also, down below, check subscribe to my podcast, and also if you want to get notifications when I'm live. And so please check those two because I love to see you every day. I love to hear how your case is coming and also answer any questions. I'm not an attorney, but I'm a very experienced man that has learned a lot from his experiences in the child protection system and wants to help you with your case because I know how awkward it must be. And a lot of you are without jobs or low income and are struggling in this economy that's so bad. I've been there, I know what it is. And so I'm on twice a day, Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week. I come on at 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour, and then I'm on at nighttime, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour. And I'd love to see you every day if you can make it. Because the more people I have in here, the better it's for all because people share their experiences and help one another. This has been a good room. People are very courteous and kind to one another. And um, I've been doing this since October of 83, of 2023. So I'm also open to suggestions of something you want me to talk about. Um, Basically, I have my rules that I've come up with. There are five of them that will help you that I didn't follow that I should have. Then I can talk about what the agency is like, the kind of people you're going to encounter, and the problems that you're going to encounter. I also have a list of 75 topics open right now of all kinds of things about CPS. I have the tabs from different states because CPS you'll find is different from state to state, from region of the country to region of the country. I've talked to over 500 people um, in the country and also worldwide. This is international um, live broadcast anywhere you got internet. And you can see me, and and I do welcome people from other countries because they too are encountering a terrible time in the child protection agency today. It is really a terrible, terrible agency that has gone really bad, and it's so sad. It is so sad because they're supposed to help us, not destroy families. Ugh. So I'd like to get out of the way 4 ways you can interact with this podcast. The first way, I've already talked about it. You're here, but let's say you want to make a comment. Um, you want to ask a question. All you do is you type on the side of the YouTube application a comment, and I will see it come up, and I will try to help you with the answer to your question or comment. It's very important to pertain it to the child protection system. We're here for the sole purpose of help in the child protection system. It's important that you start off with your first name. I don't need to see a last name. Now, you may have a name attached to your Facebook account or YouTube account, but sometimes some people use creative names like jumping hippopotamus or psychedelic butterflies. I like a name like Kathy, Mary, Bill, Sue, etc. Robert, Bob, Peggy, whatever, those easy names so I can address you. So put your name starting off with, and then put the city. Now, if you don't want to put the city you're from, put maybe the county. If you're in the United States, the county. That would really help me a lot. Because I'm trying to identify pockets of where CPS is bad or good. So either the city or county, and then followed by your state. Now, for those that are from different countries, I'd like to hear from you also. So put your city and country, your city and country. And the countries so far that have expressed concern about CPS have been Bangladesh, India, the Middle East. I have several times seen Arabic, and I don't speak Arabic, and I don't know which country in the Middle East, but it's definitely Middle East. And then Africa, the continent of Africa, I've had several countries there. I've had Liberia in the north, on the west coast of Africa. I've had on the south, on the west coast, at South Africa, the province on the west coast. I've had Rwanda, and that is Central East Africa near Lake Victoria. And Rwanda is noted for the terrible atrocities that happened in 1994, where over 1 million people were brutally murdered during the civil wars there. Also, 500,000 females were raped. It was a really terrible times, but the country has got better. But there are parts of Africa, as you know, that are constantly going through civil war. Then Mozambique on the east coast, down from Somalia, above South Africa, I've heard from. And going up north to Europe, I've had England, Scotland, and Wales, a part of the United Kingdom, have text comments in. Also, I've had Sweden and Denmark. Then across the pond, I've had North America. I've had Canada, several of the provinces there, British Columbia, Vancouver on the west side. And they have text and comments and questions. In fact, I had the Canadian Indians talk about their CPS case. They're called the First Nation in Canada. In the United States, our Indians are called the Native American Indians. And I've heard from the Cherokee tribe in Oklahoma. who was moved from their original spot of the Florida area to um, Oklahoma. A lot of the Indian tribes were sent to Oklahoma. The Osage is another tribe. I've talked to the Lakota Sioux at the Rosebud Reservation next to the Pine Reservation. There is a lot of Indian tribes that are struggling out there and troubles with the family, and there's a special act of 1978 in the United States called the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act. I can talk about that later. But going further south, I've had every 50 state and Washington D.C. text me and are called in, and they've reported similar cases. I've had Mexico, and then down south, I've even had Guyana at South America, east of Venezuela, north of Brazil, on the east coast of South America. And then we go across the Pacific to the land down under, Australia. Several people have texted in. So this is a worldwide podcast. I'm here to help you all with an answer to any question you have about the child protection system, because you're dealing with a system that is very corrupt, not transparent, and no accountability. They also do retaliation, I'm sad to say, and some of the social workers are bad apples, like any other organization, I guess, but you don't expect it from a government agency. Now, I also appreciate if you could when you introduce yourself, briefly talk about your case so I get an idea, like what your family structure is. Are you a husband, wife? Are you boyfriend, girlfriend, lovers, partners? Are you parents of all the children? Are there different parents involved? Are you a single parent raising the child and the other parents are not involved? So if you can address that, also the ages of your children, the sexes of your children. Then I'd like to know about your allegations, besides neglect and abuse, a little bit more detail about them. Then how were the children taken? That's really important because I've been doing a study that seems lately that every child that's investigated or every family is investigated, the children are immediately taken when they're not in imminent danger. My children are a prime example. They weren't in imminent danger when they were taken. But CPS in my state and in the Orange County part of my state is very corrupt. I know that from firsthand experience. I've gone to the top of the director there. So I'm telling you, I will help you any way I can. I care about you as good people. You wouldn't be in this room if you didn't care about your family or your children. You're all struggling. I know it's hard to talk about your case. I know it's hard to ask a question because I know how traumatized you can be. The child protection system is very corrupt. They do horrible things to your children, such as trafficking into foster care and alienation, which are illegal by law. They violate your constitutional and your civil rights. They don't seem to care about them. Lastly, tell me where your case is at, if you're at the beginning, middle. So if you did that with your comment, it would help me so we don't have to play ping pong ball where I ask you a question, you answer, because that takes a long time. The same thing holds true when you call in. When I give you my number, soon I'll give you my number when you call in. Now, third way to be a part of this podcast is to be a guest on my podcast. Now, to be a guest, I have an opening for 9 people, a total of 10 slots that I can have at one time. Most I've had has been 4. And the way you become a guest is you're going to contact my show producer. Her name is Grace. She works hard behind the scenes, and I thank her for all her hard work in helping making my podcast good, and any problems with the podcast, she'll help. Also, she is the person you'd write an email to be on my podcast. You just go grace at vincentwdavis.com. Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And you list one of my 14 shows. I gave you the show times. All you have to do is say, I want Bob's Sunday morning show, or Bob's Saturday evening show, or Bob's Wednesday morning show, or Bob's Tuesday evening show. You have 14 shows to pick from, 7 days a week. You just put that in your email. She'll in turn contact you, give you the link. The link she gives you gets you onto my StreamYard application I use when I transmit on YouTube. Now that link is good, so if you happen to get bounced off, pull up that link again and you can come back on and join us. I had a guest the other day that lost the connection. She said she couldn't get back on, but she didn't try the link that Grace had given her. So it's important that you hang on to that email from her. She'll also tell you how to be a guest on my podcast, what to say and what not to say. We don't allow food or eating on the podcast. That means no nuts or gums or ice chewing, um, no smoking, no names of social workers, judges, or children are used on the podcast. We protect their rights. Um, the guest is a wonderful way for you to talk about your case and also help out others because this room is interactive. People are always looking for answers. So I hope you become my guest. I look forward to seeing you. Now, you email Grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And she will help you get on the podcast. Now, I'd like to talk to you lastly um, by telling you can call me right now. My phone number is live. I'll take your phone call. It's 626 698 0990. That connects to my phone is my office number. It's a direct line. We use Vonage as the internet streaming phone application. If you're familiar with Vonage, that's what we use. And you can call in. I'll put you on speakerphone. All I ask is you make sure that your speaker is your volume is turned up so people can hear you. Also, if you have background noise going, try to make the background down reduced and so forth. The same thing goes on the being a guest on a podcast. Make sure to have a good internet connection. The best is preferred on a computer, but a phone is acceptable. And um, I would love to talk to you. And it makes the show go so much more enjoyable when we have someone asking questions or someone being helped. It was interesting yesterday. I had several people from Kentucky and New York, and it's great. We have people that come in my podcast. So I know there are yous out there. Some of you don't say anything. You're in my room, which is fine. I like having the listeners there, and maybe you will want to ask a question or make a comment or call in. So there's four ways. One, just by being in the room. Two, by texting a comment. Three, by being a guest on the podcast. And four, by calling in. My number's live. By the way, that number is only good during the show hours. What that means is before the show or after the show, I cannot take calls. Leave a message and I'll text you back the hours I'm operating, and that will help you. Now, one thing is important that I neglected to tell you on my show that on every Sunday I'm on at 8 o'clock. That's the difference in my schedule. I go to church with my family, so I like to do my show ahead of church time. So I come on at 8 o'clock on Sunday. Other days of the week, I'll let you know. This is football season, and my son plays football, and I want to go to his games. This week is okay. Tonight's Friday Night Lights in most high schools, but his game is tomorrow, and his game is in Hawaii. They're playing the Kuluku Red Raiders, and it's supposed to be a fun game at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time, um, because they're 3 hours behind, and their game starts at 7:30 Hawaiian time. But anyway, just to say if you want to watch some football, I'm a football fan, and I pray and hope the concussion that Tagaloa of the Miami Dolphin that he's able to recover. He's had so many concussions over the years, and I've been following him ever since he played at Alabama. And all the football people, I want everybody to be safe and have a good game. Um, who am I? Well, I've already introduced you my name. I'm a dinosaur. I too have had a CPS case. It started in 2010, soon after I lost my job through no fault of my own. I've been working for almost 45 years. I was 60 years old when it traumatized me. It's very hard when you lose a job, especially when it's no fault of your own. When the owner says, "Hey, Bob, I have to close my company down. The contracts that you so graciously got, the state of California is right now not making those funds available." Technically, they could have been sued, the state of California. But the state of California, like Detroit, Michigan, was going bankrupt at about that time. As a lot of you are aware of, the banks in 2007 were collapsing because of predatory loans. And I too experienced a predatory loan. That's where they overqualify for your loan that you can't pay in the end. And they give you credit lines so that you use the credit. And so I was living in a beautiful home at the beach. And that's why I cannot believe that CPS thought I had a horrible home. And CPS are very corrupt. Their only interest is to make money. And how they make money is the federal government has an unlimited bank account. The federal government spends trillions of dollars on the child protection system of supposedly protecting your children, but in fact, they do just the opposite. They make a profit. They exaggerate the amounts that they want. They take children into foster care that don't need to be. They break up families, and they take advantage of people that have lost their jobs, like my case, low income, maybe lost their home, or other family difficulties. They're supposed to be an agency supposed to help others, and they really haven't been that. Their track record is horrible. And I believed in government agencies. The child protection system is worse than the internal revenue system. And there's a lot of changes in our government. This is a very important year because we got to find somebody out there. There's only two candidates, I'm afraid, that you get to pick from. That's going to be our leader, somebody that has a lot of experience, that could be a good, strong president, somebody that internationally has met with every dictator, every bad country out there. We need someone that will make America great again, that will regulate our borders, that will help our economy. We need to get that oil line back in progress that was shut down, and lower our gas prices. We need to control our food at the stores. You know how hard it's been. That affects CPS. There's a lot of you, um, I'm afraid, that are on um, food stamps, trying to make it ends meet. And it's really hard. It's sad to say because our economy is very taxed by the millions of people from around the world that come across our unopened borders. We need a president that will close and regulate our borders. I'm not against of people coming to the United States. That's what we're founded on. We were founded on immigrants. The first immigrants were our Native American Indians of North America. They came away from Siberia over to Alaska on the land bridge. They settled over. They're our first immigrants. And then we had the Vikings that came over and explored our world. And then we had the Spanish and the Dutch and the English and all the European nations that came over. And we had uh, settlements in Plymouth and Jamestown that tried to make it a new world here. And children have always been at the foremost. There's cases that they go back to the 1600s that I've found of how children were abused and how in those days it was the rich people that kind of helped out with the children. There's different societies and different things. The child protection claims that there's three parts of the child protection system. The first part is from the 1600s to 1875. The second part is from 1875 to 1962. The third part is from 62 to present day. And it wasn't to present day that we got any kind of a strong system. There's always been societies and always been a lot of people that have tried to help out children being abused, working as slaves. And it's a sad. The Child Protection Agency is a sad thing. Now, I'm talking a little bit about something different, maybe. If you want to talk about something else, please text me what you like to talk about. Um, I have a lot of topics that I can talk about, and a lot of things about my own experiences and my rules and what makes a social worker and what's all about them and so forth. Again, my phone number is open at 626-698-0990. Also, you can be a guest on my podcast by contacting Grace at vincentwdavis.com. Now, at this time, I'd like to introduce a person, a marvelous person that's been producing this podcast. His name is Vincent W. Davis. He has a law firm called Vincent W. Davis Associates. It's made up of many lawyers. He has criminal lawyers. He has lawyers that help you with your real estate needs, lawyers that help you with your work needs, and all the other things too. So um, he is a remarkable lawyer, by the way. He practices law. His expertise is dependency, juvenile family law. Anything that deals with juveniles, families, or dependency, and that's what you're in right now if you lost your child. He's an expert in that field. He has over 35 years of fighting the child protection system, and he will get your children back. He has a proven track record. He's also a trial attorney. He can do trials, and he's also able to fight in any state. He has a case up in Northern California and a case in Oklahoma. He has many cases in Southern California, and I know he's talked about other cases like in Arizona and different parts of the country. He'll go anywhere to fight for you. He can be retained, and I have a number that you could call him to talk about him or any other attorneys for any of your legal needs. It's 888-888-6582. That's the law office's phone number, and you can call in there. Make sure you tell them that Bob Pace sent you, and that if you want to retain Mr. Davis, you can do so by calling that number. Now, I have a special deal I made with Mr. Davis, and it's been at the bottom part of my screen. It's kind of small. It may be hard to read. And what I'm going to do is blow it up a little bit so you can see it. Now, it says to book a discounted Zoom consultation with attorney Vincent Davis for up to 30 minutes. You have to do it because of me. So you got to make sure that you mention well, you're going to do this on the email. Not email, I'm sorry. You're going to go to a website, and you're going to go to that website and schedule a consultation with attorney Vincent Davis. You go to the website that starts off with https colon / candidly CLENDLY.com / apps appts VWD / Bob Pace BOBPACE, and he will talk to you for 30 minutes. I have a special fee, a prorated fee of $60. It's a good deal. It's $2 a minute. But you got the top attorney in the country that will fight CPS, that will get your kids back, will tell you how to navigate. And it's 30 minutes for $60. You just go to their website. Again, it's https colon / candidly CALENDLY.com / apps appts VWD / Bob Pace BOBPACE. So I've given you the phone number of the office to hire Mr. Davis, and he'll talk about his retainer. But if you want to just talk to Mr. Davis and talk about your case, he'll give you as long if you go to that website. And when you do speak to Mr. Davis, make sure you tell him that Bob Pace sent you. It's important he knows that I'm reaching out to you all to have Mr. Davis help you. So my rule number one, by the way, is hire an attorney. And you probably wonder why I stress hire an attorney. It's the most important thing you ever do about your CPS case. And a lot of say, well, whoa, wait a minute, I can't afford an attorney. Oh, by the way, I got a court-appointed attorney. Well, the problem with a court-appointed attorney is they're beginning lawyers. They may have a background in criminal law, but they won't have a background in dependency law. They won't know how to uh, help you with your family matters or your juvenile matters, your children. Anybody under the age of 18 is considered a juvenile. And in dependency court, dependency law, that is the expertise. Just like if you're going to do open heart surgery, you wouldn't have a layperson open up your heart and pull it out and repair it, such as let's say, a plumber or a mechanic. You know, those kinds of people don't know how to do open heart surgery. Fighting CPS is just like open heart surgery. It's very complex. They lie, they cheat, they're not transparent, and they're not your friend. They will not fair. They will so much lie. They don't care. They have no feelings. And I'm talking at the majority of the cases. That's over 500 people. Now, I know there's millions of people in the United States, and there's millions of social workers, and not all social workers are bad. Not all police are bad. But the people I've talked to in my Pearson case were bad. So you got to be careful anytime you're involved with CPS. There is no manual. When you're born, you don't know how to do a lot of things, such as parenting or raising a child, or you don't have the rule books. It's like anything like football. In order to learn football, you have to know the rules. And it takes practice and time after time. Well, to fight CPS, you have to research. You have to know exactly what is really um, important about the CPS, and how they can help you. How they can help you. And so, what I'm saying to you is that it's very important that you do a lot of research. I cannot emphasize my knowledge is based on research, and I didn't do it with my case. My rule number four is to spend at least 60 hours to research your case. You start off with your city. If you're in a small city like Athens, Georgia, you may want to put Atlanta and Athens, Georgia's. Then the word after that should be CPS, Child Protection System. And then you want to put what part of the system you want explanation about, like dependency court. what to do when you go to dependency court, um, what do you do if your child is being transferred from one state to another state, visitations, and you want to do it prescribed to the area you're in because each state is different. Like in Kentucky, social workers need a license. They don't enforce it. California, you don't need a license. So it's sad because there's no consistency. There is a federal agency that handles CPS, um, which is the Housing, Urban, and Development Department. But a lot of you have a lot of grievances and complaints. You need to file them. You need to follow up on that. I do know that our government, you can talk to them. I called 2 weeks ago Congress. They have a phone number. It takes you to the operator within Congress. A live person answered the phone. I was literally shocked. And they ask you which senator, which representative you wanted to talk to. If you took high school, you had a government class. They taught you how to work with the different areas of government, the legislative branch, the judiciary branch, the executive branch. That's why we take U.S. government, because they want everybody to know how to work with it. So the government is workable, it's doable, but you got to know the rules. You got to. That's why I go back to my rule number one: get that attorney. It's going to be a life saving. That court-appointed attorney is just a yes person, whether they're male or female. They will not fight for your case. They are friends of the social worker attorneys. They're friends of the court-appointed attorney. CPS is hoping that you will take court-appointed attorneys for you and your children. You see, most people they attack are the low income because they know they can take advantage of them. They know they can lie to them. They know maybe they're not educated enough to know right from wrong as far as what to say in the agency and so forth. So I emphasize how much important it is to do that research, to learn all you can because it's out there and you will be able to get your kids back. The court attorneys, it's just a temporary fix. I had one, it was a waste of time. They couldn't even break away because their caseload was 30 or more clients. They didn't know from one client to the next client. It was like terrible. I go to court, you couldn't go into court. You don't know how they perform. In California and Orange County, you're not allowed in the court. The only time you can come in is that when they want to tell you something terrible or make you sign something or make you do something. Now, I was hoping by now we'd have somebody that could talk or somebody in the room that would have some comments. And again, I like to emphasize my phone number. We're halfway through the show, and my phone number is 626-698-0990. I love to hear from you. I know you're out there listening, and um, I love some emojis. Uh, make sure that you can text me a question or a comment. I'll gladly answer that. Now, I've given you two rules. Rule number one, the most important one, is to get an attorney to fight. I got one. It was Vincent Davis. He did get back two of my three children. Unfortunately, I waited too late to go after my children to get them back, and I lost my daughter. And that was a tragic, tragic time. See, CPS came at the wrong time in my life. Of course, it never comes at the right time. Looking for work at age 60 is very hard. People think you're a dinosaur and you can't work, but not all people at 60 or 70 or 80 are old people. We have a candidate running for president that is an elder statesman, but he survived a bullet attack and he is healthy. He can go and do the campaign, work long hours. He works for you people. And so not only do we elect a new president, but we elect all the dependency judges. They're not appointed, they're elected. So it's really important you go out and vote for these Judges, you want a judge that has dependency, family, juvenile law background that can be fair and help you parents do family reunification. Know what unification is about. There are parenting classes and programs that you can take to help things get better. Do those programs. Do those. Be careful though, because they like to do their own tests, social workers do. And you want to do your own because they can't be trusted. They can't be trusted. Your social workers will lie and they use tests that are not accurate, especially drug tests. So you want to make sure that you talk to your own insurance company and you get your own drug test done. Also, they want to make you a mental health problem. They want to make you that you're mentally not fit to take care of children. That's an easy way for them to get you adopted. Get you adopted. Now, as I explained to you, that the social workers are very corrupt to the point where they do revenge. They do revenge. A typical social worker, uh, I'll give you some examples. The first social workers were 8 white females in Prescott, Arizona. And in 2022, they're working for the child protection system called the Department of Children's Services, DCS. And they decided to purchase um, pink t shirts. And these pink t shirts, they had stenciled on the front professional child kidnappers. Now, I don't know if that strikes you as funny, but that's what these 8 social workers wanted you to think, that they're professional child kidnappers. And on the back, they said, "Do you know where your children are at?" As they walked in Costco and Walmart and Target and Best Buys and Kmart, all the different big stores. And the parents were horrified. Complaints came in, and right away, Prescott, Arizona had the 8 social workers fired, along with the director of the DCS outfit. So they were all fired. And they are, which is a shame in 2 respects. One, they had over 25 years of social work experience. Two, they left the department with only one social worker, a guy that handled all the cases. Now, I've been sitting here telling how bad and how awful CPS is. There are good workers out there. I believe there is. I've talked to 3 of them on this show. I've talked to Carol from Maryland, who is a clinical psychiatrist, trained and educated, who had 6 months of training in Maryland's CPS. And she talked for 40 minutes. And she talked about how she handled her families. There was another social worker that was a third party social worker and from Indiana. And she talked also for a length of time about, and she also talked about corruption within the CPS. The third one was a foster care mother who did not believe in adoption. She only went there to help out children in their transition. But you got to be careful out there because they do trafficking, which is illegal. They do alienation, which is illegal. So these social workers that parade around that they're professional child kidnappers, what does that tell you? Now, I know there's probably a lot better social workers than those. But another social worker recently on her Facebook page put an old ad from 1848. It had the N word, which I cannot say because of the standards of Facebook. Um, but it was, said black children for sale. It was identical to the ad of 1848. And why this woman, and she happened to be a black woman, put this on her Facebook page. She was contacted and said, she's from Chicago, Illinois. I was trying to show how black children are still for sale. And I guess It was a poor taste of choosing that ad. Yes, that was an ad that was before the Civil War in 1848, and she thought it still is applicable today. And um, yes, in a roundabout way, CPS is trafficking our children, selling our children, because in my case, each one of my child's, the county, the Orange County, we paid $20,000 from the state of California per child per month. That's $60,000. If you took 100 families with 3 children each, that's $6 million. That's a lot of money. It's $1 trillion business that they do. And there's no accountability. There's no board of directors or board of governors. There's no supervisors. And the supervisors, the managers, the directors do have are corrupt. They all work on the bonus system of getting paid to keep children in CPS's custody. So there's no incentive for them to do family reunification. No system in there. And yes, there are a lot of cases that are bad. I read every day. One of my constituents from Kentucky, Faye, from Michigan, Kentucky, has put together a total of approximately 30 children that were killed in the hands of the Kentucky's um, CPS system there. They call it the cabinet. And it's really sad there because Kentucky leads as one of the worst states to have a CPS case in. They're very corrupt. The police are corrupt. CPS loves using the police as intimidators. And police are duped all the time following what CPS says because they think they're speaking the truth. And a lot of times your constitution, your civil rights are violated. And social workers do lie on the stand and commit perjury all the time. They commit perjury all the time. There are numerous cases of perjury. There was a advocate of CPS, a senator from Georgia, and she was killed, unfortunately, in her 70s. And, you know, we need people to understand that CPS, the Child Protection System, is not your friend. The kind of workers they have working for you. I've told the ones in Prescott, Arizona, and Chicago, Illinois. A third example of a bad social worker was a man that was sent to investigate a young girl of 13 at her school. You see, social workers can come and interview children at school. Now, in California, they're required by law to notify the parents. The parents can come to the school and sit in a separate room while their child's being interrogated. I think they have to have transparency. I think anytime your children are, they said, well, the children won't be honest with the parents there. Well, I'm sorry, but the child, a lot of times, they're duped into making things. It's like when they use a doll to ask a kid if any sexual acts have been admitted there. Sometimes social workers will institute the doll and coach the children to say something's not true. I mean, there was a case of a horrific guy that spent all day being interrogated by police that he killed his father. He never did, but the police hounded him and suggested and said things. So there's corruption everywhere. There's corruption everywhere. So this guy went to investigate this 13-year-old girl. He went to the school and asked to speak to this girl, and he asked to um, he that's the wrong phone. Sorry, I have several ways that people can call me. You know, either on Vonage or my regular phone carrier or WhatsApp app or Messenger or Viper, all these different ones that I have there. So that was not a call for the show. So this man is asking the school permission, but the way he asked it was very peculiar. Alleged he's 60 years old. He's been working for social service for a long time. But he asked he could be alone with this girl in a classroom, in a room. Now, I don't know if it was a classroom, but in a room. And his purpose, he asked the girl to disrobe and he took pictures. Now, I don't know the details of what kind of pictures or what he was doing, but to me, it's very strange that an adult male, especially of his age, would be alone with a female of 13. And the girl said she felt creepy when she came home and told her mother that this person she didn't know asked her to take off pictures, take off her clothes so he could take pictures of her. And again, I don't know if he tried anything with the person, but it was wrong. And the mother did call the social services. They investigated. They found he did was against their policy, and he was terminated. But what ensued was he had a coworker that grew up with him as a small child. They'd been friends for all their life, maybe 50 years or something. He did a retaliation against the mother of the daughter and made it look like she was molesting her son. So there's additional charges that CPS was doing. It's a big mess. It's a big mess, but it's wrong. But that's how social workers think or act. They're not supposed to be alone. No children is supposed to be alone with a parent unless it's your own parent. For instance, I'm an adult scout leader. It's always two parents with all activities with Boy Scouts. I should say now Scouting because girls are now part of the Boy Scouts. They're also um, are supposed to, like in AYSO soccer and everywhere else, you're supposed to have that. So, with that being said, I really feel sorry for a lot of people out there because your children are being abused by the system. And if those aren't enough cases to think about what kind of social workers are, you know, it's a sad state of affairs. Sad state of affairs. Okay, Faye has joined me. Thank you, Faye. Oh, wow. Faye is from Richmond, Kentucky. She's hoping that everybody have a blessed day. Now, Faye has told me it's so weird the voice isn't matching up with your mouth movement. It's lagging pretty bad. Yeah, I see what you mean, Faye. There is a little bit of lag. Yep, there's like a 3% lag. I put my hand to my forehead and counted. It's a 3% lag. Well, that time it went fast. Yeah, that time went fast. Um, yeah, that is. Sometimes it's like that, Faye. Sometimes it's like that. So, what would you like to talk about? I've been talking for 53 minutes, and you're the first person that said something. What would you like to talk about, or hear me answer, or a question you may have, or a comment? You know, um, Faye is a remarkable woman. I should talk about her. She's somebody I've been on my podcast who has a child, a special needs child that she's trying to get uh, custody of. She lost her daughter through no fault of her own. She had to choose between her son or daughter. See, Kentucky has an awful state. For instance, when your children are no longer going to be adopted, they have a thing called a final goodbye to your child, which I think is cruel. That is very, very cruel, and I cannot believe they allow it. But supposedly they say that you come and say goodbye to your child. You can't cry. You can't say you miss them or something like that. I think that is uncalled for. I don't think, as a last resort, children should be adopted as a last resort. The parents are so toxic, so bad, so toxic that they can't be with the child. But that is a last resort. But in Kentucky, they seem they're anti family and they're very corrupt. The police are corrupt and the whole place is corrupt. She was in foster care herself. She was abused, molested, and raped and sex trafficking, all in foster care 5 times. Her mother had a drug problem, and her mother was the cause of her being in foster care. It was so bad that she had to walk on rocks, that her feet today are hurting so bad. And she is trying to fight CPS, and she has written to uh, uh, people like the press and senators and congressmen and governors and stuff to say how bad the case is and try to put the message out. But she's a survivor. She's still going through struggling for funds to feed her family. And maybe she's a typical of the low income people in Kentucky, but from the governor all the way down, they don't seem to think their state is corrupt. But they have more cases of CPS and corruption. Right now, the Richmond uh, child protection system there uh, has a problem with accountability for over $1 million that they can't see where they spend it on. There's a guy being indicted, embezzlement of funds in um, in Kentucky that's being looked at it. So anyway, um, I've talked about my rule number 1 about hiring an attorney. I've talked to my rule number 4 about research, um, and I have several other rules that I can finish up with that I've talked about. Um, there's a rule number 5, which Faye is the one that helped me on that one, and that is a special folder you need to put together or an envelope or something to keep all the important documents of your children and your family in. What I mean by that is that the most important documents are your child's birth certificate and social security card. They're given to you at birth. When you have a child, it's required by law that they produce a birth certificate with the father's, mother's name and a social security card. You're given the birth root. A lot of parents forget them or not ask for them. And if that's the case, the Child Protection Agency will get one for the child, but they'll put a foster care parent on it. So it's so important to have that. Also, you want to have any medical records of your child, any problems the child has, like special needs in school, um, things like that. You want to have your school report cards, things like a marriage certificate that shows you're legally married, your copies of your driver's license, all those legal documents that you may want to, your shot records of your children, your medical records of your children, any mental problems you have with your children, any mental problems that you had. You stuff it all full of that envelope or put it all in that folder. And that way you have it accessible and have it with you, part of your CPS case. Because you have to prove, you know, your word is not good enough in them. You actually have to physically, in the court, you got to have people that produce the records in court to verify those records are true. So that's my rule number 5. Now, my rule number 3 is a very important. It's almost next important to get an attorney. Rule number 1. Rule number 3 is the taking of your children and entering your home. Now, for the first time that someone tries to enter your home, you don't want to answer the door. In fact, you never want to answer the door. You will have to in the future, but anytime you have a knock at the door, you don't know. It could be a child protection system, a police officer coming to your home that's mistakenly think that you have domestic violence. Too many people lately have been killed by opening their door. We have Roger, a black airman in Florida, Gainesville, that was shot 5 times in the chest while he's talking to his girlfriend because of his mistaken apartment for domestic violence. That officer is being prosecuted. There was another one of a black woman in the kitchen washing her dishes where she was shot in the face 5 times by an overzealous sheriff that had no way to control his behavior. He was fired on the spot and he was let go. And then he's also charged with first degree murder. His deputy who was with him at the time is also being charged. There's 2 policemen that killed a Korean lady that had mental issues, and she had a knife, but it was not on her, and they said it was necessary to control her. So I'm telling you, don't answer the door. Don't answer the door because you don't know who's there. Also, if a social worker or a policeman want entry into your apartment, there's only 3 ways. One is um, you give them permission to enter your home. Don't give them permission. 2, there's domestic violence going on and the child is in danger. 2 people are arguing. 2 people may be using weapons, knives or guns. They may be strangling the child or slamming the child against the wall. Policemen and caseworkers will intervene and will enter the home. The third way they can get into your home is with a warrant. It's a legal document, and it's very important um, that you see that legal document. It has to be signed by a judge. It's got to be done in a court during normal court hours. If it's a weekend date or a holiday date, then you know the document's not legit. They will lie. They'll make copies. They will doctor documents. After the signature of the judge, it'll be embossed with a special stamp that raises the paper over the signature so someone cannot uh, forge it. It's got to be very specific. It's got to tell you the name of the persons they're investigating, the children's names, the allegations, the location, the date and time they can do the investigation, and what they can investigate for. That's called a warrant. And you have to do that. You can see them when you're outside if they show you the warrant. You're outside, they show you the warrant, then you got to let them in and they will try to search your home or do things there. But it's important. If you're outside, tell them that you can't talk any further, that you need to speak to your attorney. This is a legal matter, and by constitutional law, you are allowed to have representation through all process of the legal matter. That's how you can say there's time out. I need to speak to my attorney. Get their name, be nice to them, write it down, check the badge number of the policeman, check the ID of the social worker because they lie with the names. So that's one way to get out of that situation. But eventually, you need to get back to them. Don't keep repeatedly. If they come out a second or a third time, it's going to get worse. You need to respond to them after the first initial time. If they leave a card on your door, get a hold of an attorney. Call the attorney and have him call. He'll tell you what to do. And so I've gone way over my time. I've gone 2 minutes. And I'm only supposed to go 1 hour. So I want to thank you so much for Faye coming in to hear what I had to say, and again for your support here. Thank you all for listening. I don't know the names of the people that have been here because they've been silent this morning. I'm hoping there's more activity tomorrow, tonight at 7 p.m. Um, I'll be on at 7 p.m. sharp. I know it's Friday night lights. There's a lot of high school games on. But before the show and after the show, I'll be catching up with my football teams. But I love to look forward to you. Again, don't give up. Fight your um, your case. You will get your kids. Be careful. Think before you do anything. And